Understanding how they are as people, we suggested that we'll go in for a certain sense of minimalism, but we wanted that minimalism to have a certain character, a certain warmth, and that is when we thought about giving the house an undertone of Mediterranean feel to it, like as if, even though you're at home, you're away from home in some way. Hi, I'm Jasim from Muse Lab, and I co-founded this firm with Huzaifa Rangwala. We started this firm in 2012. So when we got this home, it was a 3 BHK, two 3 BHKs that was sort of divided like this, almost mirrored plans. The entry space was here and here. We decided to go with one entrance, but as soon as you walk through that little foyer like passage, it opens up into a really large living and dining space. We did demolish the central wall and make this as our living dining space. So the living room is a much brighter space because it doesn't have any partitions or wall. And also we've introduced minute details, like there are these paper mache decorative lights that are in the ceiling that become sort of a focal point within that space. And we wanted the furniture pieces which appear as objects to actually stand out. The colors of those, like from the tan leather sofa to the earthy colors that are within the rug itself as well. So we wanted that to stand out. Then again, we have that little kitchen flooring that kind of peeks out and kind of captures that bar area as well. When there is an element of, like, say, a mandir or an altar, where one is thinking, like, should we celebrate it or should we tuck it away? And here we thought that let's take that as a start point for a design element and let's celebrate that wall. And also we had to soundproof the home office from the dining space. So that is an actual double glass partition that's created, where one side it is stained glass and on the other side we've gone for a clear glass. The way the kitchen is placed within the planning of the building layout itself, it is more tucked inside. It doesn't really have much natural light coming its way. So our first instinct was to make the kitchen larger. On one side of the kitchen there is a fluted glass, so it still lets the light from the living space enter into the kitchen. So we played with fluted glass in terms of not just, it's not like it's an uncommon material, it's common, but in terms of how the panels are cut and put within the space. But the entry itself is a complete clear glass and it's an arched door because it just kind of begins to frame one space of the kitchen. And then there is also a little elongated elliptical window that kind of frames the dining space and the 3 arches that are there. The material palette has been kept very functional in that sense. We've used vitrified tiles, but we've made it to look like stone for the flooring. We've used a mosaic tile for the backsplash of the kitchen, and this is what we've used as a stone on the kitchen countertop as well, where you see a very stark black stone, but then it has this sort of a vein, a white vein, which flows almost like a river. And that traverses from the horizontal to the vertical surface of the kitchen counter. The mosaic tile also has a slight rustic quality to it. It's like a ivory white, but the edges are not sharp edges, how the ceramic kind of folds, right? And when you fire that clay, what happens on the edges? So that's actually visible on the tiles itself as well. Very intuitionally, or I think the client preferred this side being as his private space, converted these 3 bedrooms into the client's bedrooms, where this was the master bedroom and this was one daughter's bedroom and this was the second daughter's bedroom. For the master bedroom, that is where I think we weren't as playful or colorful in our approach. The wardrobes are in a lighter finish, but the headboard, that is where we went with a slightly darker veneer to kind of establish some sense of authority within the home, I guess. You know, as the headboard, we've used a slightly more darker veneer to bring a certain sense of warmth over there. We've used a veneer which has a very strong knot in it. So then it brings in that sort of a rustic charm to the space. So this is the veneer used on all the doors within the home and also on some of the wardrobes. One of the requirements that the daughters had, they just wanted to make sure that the room was colorful enough. And then also in this bedroom, we played with how the curtains are done. So the curtains are custom made panels where we've created patchwork of fabric, but we've kind of done more geometric patchwork where, you know, like whereas one fabric is very neutral, another one has a punch of color, and then one has a print on it as well. But here for the headboard, our choice of material is we wanted to continue the same stone within that space and not add more stones within the home. The stone is in itself so beautiful in terms of the texture and the colors that it has. So we wanted to create simple shapes. So that's why they are more rectangular with a sort of a circular cut within them, how they are layered. So we wanted to kind of be efficient with how we are cutting the stone as well to avoid as much wastage as possible. So in the other bedroom as well, we introduced a textural headboard, and here is where we moved slightly away from our palette, but it still kind of worked in the overall scheme. So we used a very nice earthy terrazzo headboard, which is the base of it is a grey cementatious base, but we kind of punctuated with the white and pink Indian marble within it. Post the pandemic, a lot of his working has shifted to home-based working and a lot of calls. So we had to make sure that, you know, it's a soundproof space. So both the glass partitions are actually double glass. The overall color palette was neutral because that stained glass partition itself is quite vibrant and bold in its aesthetic. The family room also, though it's very functional in the sense that's where, you know, like there's the TV unit is there. It's supposed to double up as a yoga space. On one wall, which is right across from the north wall, we have introduced arched shaped mirrors in varying heights. So the mirrors were to from a very functional standpoint because they wanted it for their exercising and the yoga, but we didn't want to create it like a gym where you just have an end-to-end mirror. So we wanted to bring in that little characteristic of, you know, again, to continue with the tonality of Mediterraneanism. So we've introduced arches of different heights to break that, so it still feels as an accessory as well, but also as part of how the home functions. Having known the clients for a bit, we did understand their personalities, and the whole idea was to create a sense of calm within the home, to, you know, sort of feel like you've come elsewhere. So we took that as a cue and thought that, you know, why shouldn't one feel like, you know, you're living in a resort? Why do you have to always feel like a home is just a home and only functional? So that's why it was important for us to bring functionality and aesthetics together to kind of create that layering with the way we did with the materials and the color choices, to bring about that feel within the space that your home is also your resort. You do not need to kind of necessarily step away. It's always nice to take a holiday, but it's always nice to feel like you're on a holiday always as well.